Hello and welcome to the lesson. So today I'm going to show you how to play More Than Words by Extreme. And this is a classic acoustic guitar piece. I really enjoy playing this song and I think you will too. And sometimes if I'm at a party or if I'm with friends and I've got an acoustic guitar, I'll save this song right to the end of the night because when you play this, the room goes silent. People love listening to this song. So let me demonstrate what I'm going to show you in this lesson. It's going to sound like this. And so on. I think you get the idea. So that's what we're going to learn in this lesson. It's a real nice little piece. Before we begin, I'll just tell you that on the original recording they tune their guitar down to an E flat tuning, and what that means is each string goes down one semitone. But for the purpose of this lesson I don't want you to worry about that. I'm going to teach this lesson in a normal regular tuning, and so long as that your guitar is tuned to a normal standard tuning as well, then we'll be fine. You'll be able to learn this song. Excellent. So let's begin. Right, we're going to start with a G chord, and you probably already know a G, but if not, you need to use your middle finger on the 6th string at fret 3, and then put your first finger on the 5th string at fret 2, and use your third finger on the 2nd string at fret 3, and put your little finger on the 1st string at fret 3. You can pause the video if you just need to get that right, and I suggest you just pluck the strings and make sure they sound nice, so that each one of those strings is nice and clear, alright? And you've always got the chord diagram next to me if you want to pause the video and check that. That's absolutely fine. I want you to pluck the 6th string with the thumb, like that. And then pluck strings 1 and 2, both together like this. And you can see that I'm using these fingers to pluck those strings. Right, now get rid of your middle finger and just use your first finger, which is already in place on the 5th string at fret 2. And I want you to use your thumb to pluck the 5th string now. But as well as plucking the 5th string, I want you to pluck strings 3 and 2. So you're plucking the 5th, 3rd and 2nd string all at the same time. And now pluck strings 1 and 2, like that. Now use your middle finger to go onto the 5th string at fret 3. So just look at what I'm doing with my hand, or look at the chord box next to me if you want to. And this time I want you to do the same. Pluck strings 5, 3 and 2 all together. And then pluck strings 1 and 2. On their own. Right, good. Now pluck the 5th string on its own, and then pluck strings 5, 3, 2 and 1 all together, twice, like that. Alright, now let me demonstrate that in slow motion from the start. So what we've got is right, I hope that makes sense. Now we're going to move on to an A minor 7 chord, and what that is the middle finger on the 4th string at fret 2, and put your first finger on the 2nd string at fret 1. Excellent. Now I want you to pluck strings 5, 3 and 2, and then pluck strings 1 and 2, and then pluck the 5th string on its own. And now we're going to adapt it slightly. Take your little finger and put it on the 1st string at fret 3. By the way, leave those other 2 fingers where they were. And what we've got here is still an A minor 7, it's just a different way of playing it. And what I want you to do is pluck strings 5, 3, 2 and 1 all together. Good. Now take the little finger off and pluck those same strings again. Right, so that A minor should sound like this. Excellent. Now keep those 2 fingers where they are and add your 3rd finger onto the 5th string at fret 3. And what that does, it transforms the A minor 7 into a C. And do a very similar picking pattern. I want you to pluck strings 5, 3 and 2. And then strings 1 and 2. Good. And now move to a D chord, and you probably know a D already. It's the third string at fret 2, the middle finger on the first string at fret 2, and this third finger on the second string at fret 3. Now pluck strings 4, 3, 2 and 1 all together, and you'll see that I'm using my thumb, first finger, middle finger, third finger to do that. The little finger's not doing anything. So give it a pluck, and then place your little finger onto the first string at fret 3, and that transforms the D chord into a D sus4. And all I want you to do is pluck strings 1 and 2. So the D is pretty much just doing this. Okay, so you just add in the little finger on like that. Okay, so let me play that whole thing in slow motion right from the start. Excellent. It sounds great, doesn't it? Now, of course, I don't expect you to be able to play that perfectly straight away. You're probably going to have to pause the video and practice it lots to get it sounding nice and smooth, all right? Now, what happens is he plays that whole thing again, just repeats it round a second time. And there's one very slight difference, and it is only a tiny difference. Do you remember the very first note we played was the 6th string on its own at fret 3 with the G chord? Well, this time, when you play this whole thing round the second time, I want you to pluck strings 6, 3 and 2 all together. And that's the only difference. So what that means is that when we play it the second time, it's going to look like this. If you just look at the tab, all right, I hope that makes sense. So let's say that's the end of the first section. You've played around those chords twice. Now we're going to move to what I call part 2. And it's an E minor chord. And what you're going to do is use your middle finger on the 5th string at fret 2 and your third finger on the 4th string at fret 2. Right, and you're going to pluck strings 6, 3 and 2 all together. And then strings 1 and 2. And then pluck strings 5, 3 and 2. And then strings 1 and 2. I hope that makes sense. So it should sound like this. Excellent. Now do the A minor 7 chord exactly the same as how we learned it earlier, like this. Do you remember when we put the little finger on and took it off? Well, it's the same again. Now we're going to move to a D chord, and obviously you already know the D chord, and we're going to pluck strings 4, 3, 2 and 1. And then pluck strings 3, 2 and 1. Excellent. And then pluck strings 4, 3, 2 and 1 again. Cool. Now this time you're going to take your middle finger off, so the first string is now open, and pluck strings 3, 2 and 1. Okay, so all I've done is remove my middle finger from the D chord. So if we join that together, it should sound like this. Cool. Now go to a G chord, and you know the G already. Just take a second to get that right. Now pluck strings 6, 3 and 2. And then pluck strings 1 and 2. Okay, I hope you're following this okay. You know, if I'm moving too fast, I really encourage you to pause the video and just practice each section. But there's a lot to get through and I do have to keep moving, otherwise we'll never get it done. So once you've done that, we're going to do what's called a D over F sharp, and what that is a D chord, as you already know, and the thumb, yes, the thumb goes on the 6th string at fret 2. You may not have done that before. So you can see my thumb is just curling over the top of the guitar, just enough to hold down the 6th string at fret 2. And if you give the 6th string a pluck, it should sound just like a normal note, okay? And what you're going to do is the same picking pattern, strings 6, 3 and 2, and then strings 1 and 2. Excellent. And now move to an E minor. By the way, I will recap over this in slow motion so you can see it all. So, you know, don't worry, don't panic, you'll be fine. So, E minor, and it's the same picking pattern as what we did earlier. Strings 6, 3 and 2, and then 1 and 2, and then strings 5, 3 and 2, and then 1 and 2. Okay, same as before. So let me just take this opportunity to play from the start of part 2. So beginning with the E minor, then A minor 7, and then the D chord, and then the G, D over F sharp, and then the E minor. And now we're going to do A minor 7 again, the same as before. but this time we're going to play a D7. It's a slightly different version of D. What we're going to do is play the second string at fret 1, put the middle finger on the third string at fret 2, and put your third finger on the first string at fret 2. So just pause the video and look at the chord box. That's called a D7. And we're going to play it like this. So what that is, I'm plucking strings 4, 3, 2 and 1 all together, and then pluck strings 3, 2 and 1 twice. And now add your little finger onto the first string at fret 3 and pluck strings 3, 2 and 1. So it'll sound like this. Cool. Now we're going to do a G7 chord. I love this chord. I don't know why. It's just, I guess it's because it's easy to play. It's a 6th string at fret 3 with your third finger, middle finger on the 5th string at fret 2, but this time the first finger goes on the first string at fret 1, and that's called G7. So just take a moment to get that right. And we're going to play it like this. So what I'm doing is plucking strings 6, 3, 2 and 1 all together, and then strings 1 and 2, and then I'm playing them again, 6, 3, 2 and 1, and then strings 1 and 2 again. So it'll sound like this. Excellent. And now move to a C chord, which you already know, and it's the same picking pattern as before. You should be familiar with that picking pattern by now, and if not, the tab will help you out at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so the next chord I'm going to show you is a C minor chord, and it's a bar chord, and if you've seen the 12 free lessons, hopefully you've seen the lesson where I explained how to do bar chords, so hopefully you're familiar with that already. So what we're going to do is use the first finger to hold a bar down at fret 3, and we don't really need the 6th string, we're just covering the 5 strings, and I'm holding them down tight and flat, really hold them down and use a lot of strength to hold the strings down. Then use your middle finger on the 2nd string at fret 4, and then put your third finger on the 4th string at fret 5, and then the little finger on the 3rd string at fret 5. Now I'll be honest with you, that's quite challenging. It takes a lot of strength from your hand to be able to hold that down. So I think you'll probably need to practice that, and if you strum 5 strings from the 5th string downwards, it should sound nice and clear like that, and you may have to practice it. So what we're going to do is exactly the same picking pattern that we've been doing already. You know, the one where we pluck the 5th string, 3rd string and 2nd string, and then the 1st and 2nd string, and then the 5th string on its own, and then strings 5, 3, 2 and 1 together twice. Okay, remember, just look at the tab if you need to check that. So on to the next chord. It's a G chord again. And by the way, I will repeat all this in slow motion in a moment. So you're going to pluck the 6th string, 3rd string and 2nd string, and then the 1st and 2nd string, and then pluck the 6th string on its own, but this time is slightly different. We're going to pluck the 6th string on its own again, and then down to fret 2 on the 6th string, and then we're going to go into the E minor pattern, the same as we did it earlier. Okay, and then don't worry, we're nearly there, we're nearly at the end of this section now. We're just going to gently strum an A minor 7 chord, just the 5 strings. And then strum a D7 chord, the same chord that we learned earlier. Just look at the chord box. All right. Now at that point, we go into the chorus. Now, I'm going to show you the chorus in a second, but first I'm going to demonstrate all of that in slow motion. So the whole second section, starting from the E minor, the first time we did the E minor, it's going to sound like this. Then strum, and then strum. All right, and now it's time for the chorus. Right, so what you need to do is start with a G chord, pluck strings 6, 3 and 2, and then strings 1 and 2, and now pluck strings 5, 3 and 2, and then 1 and 2. So I want you to do that little pattern twice, like this. Okay, and now we're going to do a D over F sharp. Do you remember that's where we do the D chord with the thumb on the 6th string at fret 2, all right? And pluck strings 6, 3, 2 and 1 twice. And then take your middle finger off of the D and just pluck string 3, 2 and 1. And then put it back on and pluck strings 3, 2 and 1. So it'll sound like this. Okay, now we're going to do an E minor chord, but we're going to do a different strumming pattern than what we did earlier. We're going to pluck strings 6, 4, 3 and 2. And then string 1. Now we're going to do a B minor 7, which is a bar chord again. So what this is, you're laying your first finger flat across the strings at fret 2 and put your middle finger on the 2nd string at fret 3 and your 3rd finger on the 4th string at fret 4. Now again, we don't need the 6th string with this chord, so what I'm going to ask you to do is pluck strings 5, 4, 3 and 2 and then pluck the 1st string. Now, as I said earlier, bar chords are quite tricky and I suggest you experiment with your hand position, you know, in order to get it sounding right. You probably won't find it easy straight away, it'll take a bit of practice. So once you've done that B minor 7, we're going to move to a C chord and you're going to do the regular strumming pattern that we usually do on the C. But this time, we're going to stay on the C and you're going to do this. Pluck strings 5, 3 and 2 and then strings 1 and 2 again. And then pluck strings 5, 3, 2 and 1 all together. And we're going to change to this. This is called G over B. Middle finger on the 5th string at fret 2, little finger on the 1st string at fret 3. And I want you to pluck strings 5, 3, 2 and 1. And then move to the A minor 7 chord and do the same strumming pattern that we did earlier on in the song. Okay, so let me just give you a little bit of clarity on this. I'm going to go from the C section that we just did a moment ago. Okay, so there's quite a bit of extra picking, wasn't there, on the C, so I hope that makes sense. And now we're going to go to a D chord, and you're going to do this. That's exactly the same as what we did earlier. So 4 strings, and then just the 3 strings, and then the 4 strings again, and then take your middle finger off and pluck the 3 strings. All right, hope that makes sense. And at that point, what happens is we go back into the start of the chorus again, and it basically, what we've done there is the chorus chords. We're just going to repeat them round again. So what I need to do for you now is just play through that chorus in slow motion, just to make sure that it's clear in your mind. All right, so it goes like this. And then do it all again. But just strum the A minor 7 and then finish on a D7. All right. And at that point, you can go right back into the verse section right at the start again. So what we've covered there is all the sections in the song, okay? So what basically happens is they work their way through them and get right to the end of that chorus and then start again and go through it all again and all again. And I'm sure you're aware that when you downloaded this video, there's also a PDF document in the file. And if you double click on that, and you'll be able to print it off, and it gives you all the tab and all the diagrams, and it shows you the entire sequence of the song and what order to play it all in, and all the chord diagrams are there, so it should make perfect sense. So what I really encourage you to do is to practice each one of these sections until you can make it sound nice and smooth. And as you may have already discovered already just from practicing while I've been explaining it to you, the finger picking starts to feel quite natural, and after a while you won't even think about it, and pretty soon this, you know, sooner or later this becomes quite an easy song to play, because the finger picking is all very similar all the way through it. All right, so be flexible. I don't want you to be too worried about, you know, if you're playing every little single note absolutely perfectly. It's not about that. What's important is that it sounds nice and that you're enjoying playing it. And if it sounds right, it is right. It's as simple as that. So don't get too hung up about playing the tab exactly how it's written, all right? So I couldn't leave you without just demonstrating this whole thing through in slow motion one more time, right from the start. So here goes, starting with the verse. And again. And now part 2 with the E minor. And then the chorus. All right, there you go. I think I've given you quite a thorough explanation of that song. So really the responsibility is now just down to you to go and practice and be patient and play it lots and lots and lots and get it sounding nice and smooth, all right? So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I certainly enjoyed teaching you, and I look forward to seeing you soon in one of the other video guitar lessons and we can learn some more songs together. So, and in the meantime, if you want to email me and let me know how you're getting on, then by all means do that, because I love hearing from people. All right, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.